The modern world may thrive on science, reason, and evidence, but hidden in our past are stories that defy all logic. Across deserts, mountains, and oceans, ancient cultures believed that disasters were not chance, but the judgment of gods. These cursed places stand as monuments to divine wrath, etched into the very earth as warnings for generations to come. From well-known legends to timeless myths of cosmic justice, join us as we count down the top 10 places in the world that are cursed by ancient gods. But beware, some of these curses may still linger today. At number 10 on our list, we journey deep into the scorching sands of Egypt, to the legendary Valley of the Kings, where whispers of an ancient curse have echoed for nearly a century. In 1923, the world watched with bated breath as Howard Carter and his wealthy patron, Lord Carnarvon, broke the seal on the tomb of the boy king, Tutankhamun, unleashing a storm of fascination and dread. Just weeks later, Carnarvon fell to an unexpected bacterial infection, his death fueling speculation that the ancient gods had unleashed vengeance on all who dared disturb the pharaoh's eternal rest. Newspapers across Britain fanned the flames of hysteria, claiming that above the sealed tomb door was carved a chilling warning: "Death shall come on swift wings to him who disturbs the peace of the king." From then on, every strange death connected to the excavation became part of the infamous Curse of King Tut. Stories emerged of A.C. Mace's poisoning and Carter's secretary's mysterious smothering, weaving a terrifying web of supposed divine retribution. But beneath the sensational headlines lies another truth. Historians now argue that the curse was cleverly magnified by the media, serving as a symbolic rebuke against Western plundering of Egypt's treasures. Scientists suggest natural explanations: mosquito bites, existing health conditions, and even toxic molds trapped inside the tomb for millennia. Yet, despite rational evidence, the tale endures because it captures something deeper: our fear of tampering with forces beyond human control. The Valley of the Kings may not truly be cursed by the gods, but its myth continues to haunt the modern imagination, reminding us that legends, often tense, live longer than fact. At number 9, we ascend the rugged peaks of New Hampshire, where Mount Chocorua rises in solemn silence, carrying with it a haunting legacy of vengeance and sorrow. The story dates back to the early 1700s, when Chocorua, a Pequawket chief, entrusted his son to the care of an English settler named Cornelius Campbell. What should have been an act of friendship ended in disaster when the child mistakenly ingested poison meant for predators. Devastated and enraged, Chocorua sought revenge, striking at Campbell's family with merciless fury. The grief-stricken settler pursued the sachem up the mountain, where the final confrontation took place. Fatally wounded and standing on the jagged summit, Chocorua lifted his arms toward the heavens and invoked the Great Spirit in a chilling prophecy: "May lightning blast your crops, may fire destroy your homes, may the evil one breathe death on your cattle." With that, he leapt or was struck down, leaving the land cursed for generations. Locals claim storms on Chocorua's peak are fiercer than anywhere else. Crops falter on its slopes, and livestock mysteriously perish in its shadow. Beyond folklore, the curse embodies a deeper cultural conflict: the collision of Native American spirituality with European colonization. For the Pequawket, land was sacred, alive with spirits, and when desecrated, it demanded cosmic justice. Chocorua's dying words immortalized that belief, ensuring that his cry for retribution would echo through time. Whether myth or truth, the mountain still stands as a stone monument to betrayal, grief, and divine wrath, a place where nature itself seems to remember the anguish of an ancient curse. At number 8, we travel to Ireland, to the windswept Hill of Tara, once the beating heart of Celtic kingship and a sacred seat of ancient power. For over 1,000 years, it was here that the High Kings of Ireland ruled, guided by druids and surrounded by myth. But its silence today is said to be the result of a terrible curse dating back to the 6th century. The story begins with Diarmid mac Corbeil, the last pagan High King, who still honored his druids while the tide of Christianity swept across the island. His fate was sealed when he violated one of Ireland's most sacred customs, the right of sanctuary, by seizing a man who had sought refuge under the protection of Christian saints. Outraged, Saint Ruadán and his followers descended on Tara, chanting psalms and ringing their bells in a supernatural siege of fates. The confrontation between paganism and Christianity became a battle of curses and blessings, and when the saint prevailed, he struck the king's hearth with a divine condemnation. Never again shall smoke rise from Tara's roof tree. Within the year, Diarmid died violently, his reign cut short, and no High King ever dared to dwell there again. The hill, once alive with feasting fires and royal decrees, fell into silence. To the Irish, this was not just political defeat, it was spiritual conquest, a sign that the gods of the old order had been dethroned by the Christian God. Today, Tara remains a place of eerie quiet, where myth, history, and faith converge, embodying the haunting reminder of a curse that silenced a kingdom and marked the end of a sacred era. At number 7, we journey across the Pacific Ocean to the breathtaking Hawaiian Islands, a land where nature itself pulses with divine power. Here dwells Pele, the revered goddess of fire, lightning, wind, and volcanoes, whose legend has shaped Hawaiian culture for centuries. According to tradition, Pele fled her sister Namaka Okahai, the jealous goddess of the sea, and sought refuge in the volcanic landscapes of Hawaii. Her battles with her sister are said to have formed the islands themselves, each fiery eruption and molten flow creating new land. Finally, Pele made her eternal home within the roaring caldera of Kilauea, where the very earth seems to breathe with her spirit. But Pele is no passive deity. She fiercely guards her sacred land. A chilling curse is believed to strike anyone foolish enough to steal from her domain. A single piece of volcanic rock, a handful of black sand, or even a fragment of cooled lava taken from the islands is said to bring misfortune, accidents, or illness to the thief. This living curse is not just ancient folklore, it is actively feared today. Hawaii Volcanoes National Park receives countless packages each year from guilt-ridden tourists who return stolen stones, begging for Pele's forgiveness. For Hawaiians, this curse is more than superstition. It is a reminder of the deep respect owed to the land and its spiritual guardians. Pele's fiery wrath teaches a powerful truth. Nature is sacred, and taking without reverence invites destruction. The Hawaiian curse of Pele endures as one of the world's most striking examples of how ancient gods still command awe and obedience in the modern age. At number 6, we travel to the legendary homeland of the Aztec people, a place known as Aztlan, often described as a paradise on Earth. In ancient lore, Aztlan was a dazzling island of abundance, where shimmering waters surrounded floating gardens and fertile fields overflowed with crops. Fish were plentiful, life was effortless, and the people enjoyed a near-immortal existence under the blessing of their gods. But paradise is never eternal. One day, their patron deity, Huitzilopochtli, commanded the people to leave their utopia and begin a long migration, a divine test that would shape their destiny. Obediently, the Mexica abandoned Aztlan, and with their departure, the land's divine favor vanished. The lush gardens withered into wastelands, thistles strangled the fields, and venomous creatures filled the once peaceful waters. The rocks themselves seemed to rise against the few who dared to stay, cutting their flesh and reminding them of the gods' displeasure. Unlike other divine punishments, this curse did not strike through fire or plague. It came from the withdrawal of divine blessing, proving that the gods' favor was both fragile and conditional. For the Aztecs, this story explained their migration to the Valley of Mexico and gave divine justification for their new identity as a warrior people chosen by the gods. The curse of Aztlan reminds us that even paradise is fleeting when divine favor is withdrawn, and that obedience to higher powers can demand sacrifice beyond imagination. Today, Aztlan remains shrouded in mystery, its exact location lost to time, but its legend still warns of the heavy cost of losing the god's grace. At number 5, we descend into the heart of Africa, where a forgotten village named Kadma once stood as a beacon of wealth and plenty. The people of Kadma had fertile fields, overflowing granaries, and sturdy homes, yet their souls were barren of kindness. Legends say that one stormy night, an old woman appeared, frail and hungry, begging for shelter. What the villagers did not know was that she was a goddess in disguise, testing their humanity. Door after door slammed in her face, the people clutching their riches and refusing her the smallest act of mercy. Only one young woman, Naima, offered her food and a place to rest. When the storm clouds broke and the heavens roared, the old woman revealed her true divine form. She warned Naima to flee, forbidding her to look back as the gods unleashed judgment. Terrified, Naima ran, but as she reached the hills, she turned to glance at her home. In that instant, she saw the entire village sinking beneath raging waters, swallowed by a divine flood. By morning, Kadmon was gone, replaced by a perfectly round lake, calm and still, as if nature itself had carved a watery tombstone for the lost settlement. The story of Kadmon is a moral lesson cast in myth. Abundance without compassion invites ruin. The curse is absolute, erasing the community completely and leaving only a lake as eternal proof of divine justice. Today, travelers who stumble upon such mysterious round lakes across Africa are reminded of the unforgiving wrath of gods who walk the earth in disguise, rewarding kindness but punishing greed with merciless finality. At number 4, we turn to the ancient lands of Mesopotamia, the cradle of civilization, where cities rose in glory, only to fall under the crushing weight of divine curses. The first tale belongs to Akkad, the great capital of King Naram-Sin, around 2200 BCE. Intoxicated with power, the king defied the gods themselves by destroying the sacred temple of Enlil, the supreme deity. This act of blasphemy sealed the city's fate. Enlil withdrew his favor, unleashing famine, drought, and finally the terrifying invasion of the Gudians, a savage people who brought chaos and death. Streets filled with corpses, fields withered, and the once mighty Akkadian Empire crumbled, a chilling monument to the curse of arrogance. But Akkad was not alone. A second story speaks of another jewel of Mesopotamia, which fell around 2000 BCE. Unlike Akkad, its destruction was not due to a single sin, but rather the unfolding of divine destiny. In the lament for the gods themselves declare that no city is spared forever. All greatness must end when its time is over. The storm was summoned, the abundance withdrawn, and was silenced under divine decree. Even Inanna, goddess of love and war and patron of could only weep as her beloved city was reduced to rubble. Together, the curses of Akkad and reveal a core Mesopotamian truth. The favor of the gods is never permanent, and power exists only on borrowed time. These myths served as warnings to kings and comfort to survivors, reminding all that when divine justice arrives, no wall is strong enough to stand. At number 3, we enter the ancient city of Samarkand, where the mighty conqueror Timur, better known as Tamerlane, lies in eternal rest beneath a crypt of legends. Timur, the 14th century Turco-Mongol warlord, carved an empire through fear, bloodshed, and ruthless ambition. Even in death, he seemed unwilling to surrender his aura of terror. His tomb bore a chilling inscription: "When I rise from the dead, the world shall tremble." For centuries, locals warned against disturbing his grave, but in 1941, Soviet archaeologists, dismissing the superstitions of villagers and imams, pried open the tomb under orders from Joseph Stalin. Inside, they found a second, even more ominous curse: "Whoever opens my tomb shall unleash an invader more terrible than I." The timing was uncanny. The team broke the seal on June 20th, 1941. Just 2 days later, on June 22nd, Adolf Hitler launched Operation Barbarossa, the brutal invasion of the Soviet Union. What followed was one of the bloodiest conflicts in human history, costing over 26 million lives. Legends say that only after Stalin, unnerved by the eerie coincidence, ordered Timur's remains to be reburied with full Islamic rites in 1942, did the tide of war begin to turn in the Soviets' favor. This curse is not just myth, it is entwined with real history, making it one of the most chilling examples of divine wrath echoing into modern times. Timur's tomb reminds us that even centuries after their deaths, the shadows of conquerors can cast terror across the world, their curses binding the living to the fate of the past. At number 2, we arrive in the ancient Near East, where the infamous twin cities of Sodom and Gomorrah once stood, symbols of unrestrained sin, pride, and corruption. According to biblical tradition, their wickedness was so abhorrent that it drew the attention of the heavens. The Lord, in his justice, sent 2 angels to investigate and deliver judgment. In an act of mercy, Abraham pleaded on behalf of the cities, asking if they could be spared should 10 righteous souls be found within. The answer was devastating. Not even 10 could be counted. As dawn approached, the angels urged Abraham's nephew Lot and his family to flee with one desperate warning: do not look back. The sky then ignited with fury as fire and brimstone rained down, consuming men, beasts, and crops in a storm of divine wrath. The once thriving cities were reduced to smoking ash, their memory buried beneath the desert sands. Yet the curse was not only collective, it was personal. Lot's wife, overcome with longing for her home, disobeyed the divine command. In a single instant, she was transformed into a pillar of salt, a motionless monument to hesitation and disobedience. The destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah stands as one of the most definitive examples of divine retribution in Western tradition, a direct response to human depravity, total in scope and merciless in execution. To this day, scholars and explorers search the Dead Sea region for traces of the cities. While their story continues to serve as a powerful moral and religious warning, the curse of Sodom and Gomorrah endures as a timeless reminder that when corruption reaches its peak, the heavens themselves may answer with fire. Finally, at number 1, we plunge into the darkest depths of Greek mythology, to the most dreaded place of all, Tartarus. Far below the halls of Hades lies this abyss, described by the poet Hesiod as being as far beneath the underworld as the earth is beneath the sky. Unlike Hades, which houses the ordinary dead, Tartarus is reserved for the most dangerous enemies of the gods, the Titans, the rebels, and the most wicked of mortals. This is not simply a realm of shadows. It is a divine prison designed with eternal suffering in mind. Each punishment is not only physical torment, but a poetic reflection of the sinner's crime. Sisyphus, the cunning king who cheated death, is condemned to roll a massive boulder up a hill forever, only to watch it tumble back each time. A never-ending cycle of futility. Tantalus, who dared to deceive the gods by offering them his son's flesh, is cursed with eternal hunger and thirst, forever reaching for food and water that recede just beyond his grasp. Anaxion, who betrayed Zeus by lusting after Hera, is bound to a flaming wheel, spinning endlessly through eternity. Tartarus is the ultimate embodiment of a cursed place because it is not a battlefield, a city, or a land struck by wrath. It is itself a realm crafted entirely for punishment, where the god's vengeance is eternal, precise, and unavoidable. The myths of Tartarus have seeped into modern language. Words like Sisyphean and tantalize still describe struggles we all understand. In this way, the ancient curse of Tartarus continues to resonate even today, proving that the fear of divine justice, once etched into myth, still shapes how humanity perceives sin, suffering, and the weight of eternal consequence. The tales of these cursed places remind us that our relationship with the divine, the unknown, and the sacred has always been fragile. From the tombs of pharaohs to the abyss of Tartarus, these legends warn us of the price of hubris and the weight of cosmic justice. Even in our modern world, the whispers of the gods still echo, reminding us that the lessons of the past are eternal. If you enjoyed this journey into myth and mystery, don't forget to comment your thoughts, like and subscribe for more fascinating content. Thanks for watching.